Hey guys, Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training. Kind of a strange day today. All of a sudden we had heat, and all of a sudden it went to the cool side, which is not, I'm not going to complain about. Going through a fog bank right now, matter of fact. Heading down to Compton on my normal Friday trip down to see Juan and work a little bit of ring sport with Buddy. Today's yak session, since I'm driving down the road and like to do my little yak sessions, is back to my little puppy I've got in, Zecky, that 5-month-old Malinois that their owners over-coddled him and did the wrong thing in regards to that. And it's very common. I mean, I'm not bagging on the owners. It's not their fault. They don't know. And a lot of people get dogs as a replacement child. It's a fact of life. But reality in my world, I'm out to build a product and build that house, and I want the strongest house I can possibly have. It's stable and has to meet my criteria of a dog I can take any place with me, very social. If I tell him to eat you, he's going to do his job and eat you. So it's important to me that I build that quality product, right? So you've got genetics. Zecky's a real smart dog. He's a real smart little puppy. So the first thing I've been doing is I've been going out and saying free hunt and kind of pushing him away from it. One of the biggest things you do is you ignore the dog when he's trying to give you all this attention, that clingy attitude. You either kind of give him a little nip him away from you and keep trying to push him off you and ignoring him, and don't give him attention in key areas, like when you go into his kennel and you let him out. You don't foo-foo the dog. You don't go, oh my God, and all that little high-pitched voice tone and all that little coddling that people have a tendency to want to do for their needs, for their human needs, screw a dog up, you know. And so dogs don't live in that world. They learn and learn from observation and from checking things out, but you can actually take it like a piece of clay and mold it if you're good at what you do, and understand that you should be very keenly aware of psychology when you're dealing with a puppy. It's not just having a little child and, oh, my little foo-foo. You're actually developing a child. It's a dog psychology. It is a dog, and they think a different way, and you need to be related to that. It's not a child, but at the same time, they develop a lot the same way in regards to what you do affects them, right? So make sure you don't coddle your puppies. Try to give them strength. You know, you want to imprint them when they're young, chasing prey. That's another thing with this puppy. They didn't do anything with playing with sacks or doing anything to get them to chase balls. And at 5 months of age, you miss that imprint period. It's from 8 weeks to about 16 weeks of age is a critical development period in the puppy, okay? And then it keeps going, but there's another evolution of maturity that steps up after that 16-week period of time, okay? So each one of these critical development periods, is what we call it, is important. That's why we call them critical, okay? All the way up to about 6 months of age is our open window for being able to do something with a young dog, right? Not that you can't train a dog past that, but again, you need to separate your behaviors of heel, sit down, stay, and behaviors, and separate building strength and environmental and socialization and imprinting towards balls and prey drive and all that stuff that you do to build a bite dog, to build a dog that's going to protect your home and your family. You do that separately. You have to think of it separately. That's why I give such a spiel to my customers that I don't care about heel, sit down, stay as much as I do as where's the dog's head on the work. Because in my mind, I'm going towards an end product. That's what I specialize in. That's what I do. If you bring me a dog, my mind is always thinking 2 years out, 2.5 years out. I want to develop a product, right? And produce a product that can be a worthwhile, functional tool in my customer's world, right? If somebody comes up to me and buys Joker, they will soon find out, just like the dog that was sold Maury, and then Dutch, that's on the police department. And those are the 3 or 4 dogs that I've produced in the last 4 or 5 years. They find out that those dogs are probably some of the best they've ever had. And there's a reason for that. I put a lot of work into that development of that animal, you know. You can talk to that officer on the department, and you can talk to that department in the Bay Area, and you're going to see that they love that dog. The dog's exactly what they wanted. They wanted something that was very social. There's something that happens in, I'll get a little off subject, but it kind of goes along with this development. If you have a good, I learned about 20 years ago, I used to go to a Long Beach police canine unit, and I was really impressed by them when I was out there, when they used to have their little demos and they have their little public day where they bring in the helicopter and the guys are rappelling down the line, and they have the canines out there, and it's kind of one of those meet the public type of things, and they're representing who they are as a police department to their community, right? And I got to talking to one of the canine handlers, and she was talking to me about their department overall, and that they had 4 or 5 dogs, 6 dogs, however many they had on the department back then, and that they were varied in their skills. There were some dogs that were nose dogs, doing the drug scent detection. Nowadays you'll have dual purpose, right? There were some dogs that had much more of an edge on them and had to be in a muzzle because they were SWAT entry dogs, okay? Dog you're going to send into that house and be able to have to be a lot more aggressive and be a lot more serious than the other dogs, right? And then you had your dog that could be a dual purpose dog that was usually a scent dog and an apprehension dog, but he had a very social demeanor, right? They could take him into schools and let the kids pet him and do all that, but if they needed him on the street, he would still do his job. So what I caught with that and what she was trying to impress upon me is the value of the dollar. In other words, how much it costs them to run their department is something they're always aware of, right? How much did it cost me to put that dog on the street? How valuable is that dog to me? Because how functional he is in different type of job areas, right? Well, if you know anything about police dogs, they cannot really, you don't train a dog to do drug detection and bomb dog. You do either bomb or a drug dog. You can't do both. You can do dual purpose. You can do apprehension, and you can do a nose work dog that does either bombs or drugs. But you can't have both of that on the nose work side. Same thing applies with the social aspects, going out in public and going to a school. Very rare that you have a dog that you can take out to school and be social and is the same. Has the same edge on him as far as using him for a SWAT entry dog. Not that other dog that's dual purpose that does the schools can't go out and apprehend and bite a guy. He can, but he's just not as aggressive and not as keen in doing the job as they would want when they're in the middle of the night and they're dealing with that nighttime adrenaline rush and drugs and everything else they're dealing with their suspects, right? If they're all hyped up on drugs and their adrenaline and fear is going, they're going to be a lot more prone to hurt your dog, right? They need a dog that's got more of an edge on that knife, right? So having a department that's very well balanced by having all myriad of different type of dogs and knowing which one's which and which ones can be safe to take into the school and do the demos and everything is very important. So the reason I talk about all that is because the type of dog that I'm developing, I am selling to the general public. I can't have a dog that's a SWAT entry with that type of an edge on him, because if I try to transfer that dog to somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, the liability is too high. They're going to get bit. One of their kids might get bit. We just can't have that much of an edge on that kind of a dog. Does it mean that the Joker is not going to do his job? Oh yeah, he will. And I know it for sure, but I work very hard to make sure my dogs are balanced and very acceptable to be put into the job that they're going to be put in, which is a home and a family. And I'm very good at it. I've been doing it a lot of years. When I first started, I was working one of my first bosses was working out at San Rafael seeing eye dogs and was very good at service dogs. And I'm not too bad at that either. I don't do many of them. I don't advertise it, and I don't get into it because I don't like specializing in any one thing. I can do it. All service dogs to me is customization. What do you need that dog to do for you? I always say that I can teach a dog to stand on his head and spin. You know what I mean? I'm good at what I do. And so that being the case, there's not really much I can't do. Now the job in regards to that has a lot of nuances, right? You got to get him around wheelchairs. You got to get him around things that are in his environment that are going to be in his environment. That's all it basically is. You want a dog that's going to be one of the service dogs they take into hospitals to greet old folks and go into the hospitals or the old folks places, that you need a dog that's got that temperament that's going to meet that job, right? So shaping and forming that dog to meet that requirement is going to be something that you need to be able to do. And I can do it. There's not a problem with it. A lot of people come to, do you do service dogs? Well, there's a whole market in regards to that, and a lot of it is grants. They get money from grants and things, and they're subsidized to bring down the price for the person that might have an ailment that might not be able to afford it. So that's a whole another area of expertise and paperwork and all that kind of thing. So I don't get into it as much. Not that I can't do it. I can train a dog to do anything. it doesn't matter. But so just keep it in mind. You have the ability to shape, form, and mold that dog's demeanor. And so what you should be doing is thinking about the psychology of that animal from a young age, and that you're trying to develop a dog to be a certain mental type of dog. You know, it does take skill, but it takes you having the forethought to think, this is the type of dog that I want. What do you want? If you go and get some of the sports dogs, try to go get Guapo, Oscar Mora's dog. That's a sport dog. That dog is very keen in doing his job out there on the street. Excuse me, not on the street, but on the field. You know, on the day he's got to go out and do it, and Oscar will make sure that he's got him peaking on that day of the competition. That's an art in itself. The handler going out and making sure you're doing all the work to work your animal, and then make sure he's getting peaked, so that the day of competition he gets the highest scores that you can get. Right? That's an art in itself. You know, there's a lot that goes into this stuff, and it's not just the science of dog training. A lot of it's the gut. My instincts to know that Zecky needs to be able to get out and do his own thing, and to not be so clingy and weak in that area. And then we want to start giving him strength. Where did I come up with that? Just being around the dog. My instincts tell me, right? That has nothing to do with classical conditioning or any of that. It has something to do with knowing what I need to do and point the dog in the right direction, and how do I get it? You know, that's instinct. You know, nothing can give you that except experience and passion and talent, right? So I'll let you guys go. I've been going a little bit too long. See if I can give you some videos of Zecky's growth as we go along with him. And it's all about shaping that clay from a very young age, and shaping it the right way so that you get your end result that you're after, right? I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day. Mark Ferrasci, Pro Tech Dog Training.